Nike is arguably the most popular brand when it comes to athletic shoes and apparel. You can often see Nike shoes worn by famous players, like Michael Jordan and LeBron James. But do you know how Nike started, how a man built it, and why? Even a billionaire, this man has yet to build his own factory. That is what we will find out in Life Amazing Stories. Let's meet Nike founder Phil Knight, the 21st billionaire in the world today, but still doesn't have his own factory. We'll also find out how they acquired Michael Jordan, as their most successful endorser in Nike's history. Before we start our story, please click subscribe to our channel, so that you are always updated to our videos. Phil Knight was born, on February 24, 1938, to a businessman lawyer Bill Knight, and his mother, in turn, was Lot Knight. His father had a newspaper publishing business. When Phil Knight was a young man, he wanted to do a summer job in his father's business, but he refused. Because his father wanted to make Phil Knight feel about real life, and he didn't want his son to be spoiled. So, Phil looked for another job. Fortunately, he got a job into their family's rival publishing business. And this is the Oregonian. His job is nice and he tabulates sports scores. He was able to go home in the morning, and he would still run 7 miles going home. Here, he became aware of the world of running sports. Phil attended college at the University of Oregon and took a journalism course. He also wrote a sports article in their university newspaper. He also became a varsity student, and his coach was Bill Bowerman. When he graduated, he entered the military for a year and became an Army reservist for 7 years. After his military service, he considered mastering at Stanford University. He also wrote a term paper, entitled Can Japanese Sports Shoes, to compete with German sports shoes, similar to what the Japanese cameras did to the German camera. Phil Knight saw how the Japanese camera beat the formerly inflated German camera. He also wondered if Japanese sports shoes could beat German shoes, such as Adidas and Puma, which at that time were very popular. When Phil graduated, the idea of bringing Japanese shoes to America could not be erased from his mind. There are still very few Japanese shoes to be seen in America, so he plans to go to Japan and find a supplier there. The problem is that he still has no experience when it comes to business and business meetings. But even though he has zero experience in the field of business, he still pursued his plan. So, in November 1962, he went to Japan to find a shoe supplier. Wherever he went in the city and shoe stores, in case he didn't like them. Until he reached the city of Kobe. His attention was aroused in a shoe store, where he saw shoes that were very high quality and beautiful design. This store is the Onitsuka Tiger. He loves in the first sight of this brand, and he has decided that he will sell it in America. He was talking to its owner and introduced himself as a shoe distributor in America. And on the spot, he invented the name of his company, and he called it Blue Ribbon Sports. He offered the owner if he could be a distributor of Onitsuka in America. He was shocked because the owner did not hesitate and agreed immediately. He made the exclusive distributor of Onitsuka in America. By 1963, he had already received 2 pairs of running shoes. Here he started selling. He went to various registers to sell it. He sold it from the back of his car. But he thought, if he just did this all the time, his business would not grow. So, he approached a man who knew the ins and outs of the world of running sports, and this was his coach when he was still in college, his name Bill Bowerman. During those times Bill became a famous coach in America because he coached Olympic athletes. When Bill Bowerman saw these Japanese running shoes, he was in love at first sight of them. So, Bill persuaded Phil Knight that if they could be partners. Like in January 1964, they incorporated Blue Ribbon Sports and each invested $500. They spent $1,000 on the first 300 pairs of shoes they ordered, which cost $3.33 per pair of shoes. Their shipment arrived in April 1964, and it quickly sold out. Also because of Bill Bowerman's connections. In the first year of operations with their company, they earned $8,000. If we calculate based on inflation calculator, $8,000 in 1964 is now worth $58,000 in 2020, or almost 3 million pesos in the Philippine country. It was here that they hired their first salesman, Jeff Johnson, so the following year, and it was 1965, their earnings for the whole year of 1965 reached $20,000. Here they thought of opening a shoe store in Santa Monica in 1966. In their company, Phil focused on the business operations side, while Bill focused on innovation and design. Bill makes the designs and will ship them to Onitsuka Tiger in Japan. In 1968, Bill designed Cortez shoes, and it was here that their company became well known. They became known for their Cortez shoes, because they were used by other athletes at the 1968 Olympics. They earned $300,000 in 1969. If we compute the inflation calculator, it will be worth $2 million by 2020. It was here that orders for Cortez shoes began to pour in case they did not meet market demand. Because every order they had in Onitsuka was super fast, which was consumed immediately. As demand increases, supply from Onitsuka does not increase, as they are not a priority of Onitsuka Tiger. Onitsuka's priority is the market in Japan. What Onitsuka is doing, the market in Japan is their first focus, and the rest of their stocks are all that is sent to America. So, they think that they can't depend on Onitsuka for the rest of their lives. Because they will not grow if this happens. So, they thought they have created their own brand. Their first employee suggested the name Nike, from the name Goddess of Victory. The first thing Phil did was go to a university, to make a logo for a graphic artist student. The design made for him was the swoosh design, made by Carolyn Davidson for $35, not that bad at that price. Now, his brand is ready and he is ready for the 1972 Olympics. He then made deals with various shoe manufacturers in Japan and made them subcontractors. He no longer has to build his own factory, because it is even more expensive to have a factory. And they don't have the forte to run the factory. The forte is because they design and marketing. It's called outsourcing. When their contract with Onitsuka expired in 1971, they started manufacturing his subcontracts, and it was here that Nike grew significantly. Because they already supply market demand. They became very famous when the 1972 Olympics were held. But Nike became more famous when they got Michael Jordan. How did they get Michael Jordan? In these times Michael Jordan was not that famous. The shoe that Michael Jordan wants to wear when he enters the NBA is Adidas. Although, the rubber shoes he wore when he was still playing in college were Converse. The reason is that his coach in college was paid by Converse $10,000 per year, just so that they could wear his players' Converse shoes. But the truth Jordan wants is Adidas. The problem is, Adidas didn't offer him, not because Adidas didn't like him. But at that time, their founder Adolf Adi Dassler had just died. So, during those times, Adidas went through a management crisis. So, Jordan was a bit disappointed with Adidas, so they went with Converse. At that time, Converse had a contract with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. So, Jordan is also a bit excited, but Converse only offers him $100,000 per year. Because that's what Converse pays to the top players, their endorsers. When Jordan's father asked if they could offer more, their only answer was, "That's all we can do right now." So, they kind of disappoint Jordan. It's here that Nike enters the scene. In the beginning, Jordan didn't like Nike's designs, so he had no interest in meeting with them. Because all he had in mind was Adidas. So what the Nike management did, they called Jordan's parents. It was here that Jordan was persuaded to go to Nike headquarters with his parents. When they were in the Nike office, here Nike showed the presentation they made for Jordan. In this video, are the highlights of Jordan's game when he was still in college. Nike shows that they want to get Jordan. When the presentation was over, Jordan was shown the design and color of the shoes. Showing him the red and black shoes, Jordan commented that he didn't like the design, because he said the cut was too high. Unlike Adidas, which was just a bit low cut. Nike, on the other hand, said that they can change the design, according to Jordan's preferred design. Big points for Jordan. Because in those days, players had no say or right to dictate the design of those they endorsed. Nike shows that they interested to get Michael Jordan. Unlike Adidas and Converse, he seems to be taken for granted. Jordan was also offered a Mercedes-Benz, and a whopping $500,000 per year for 5 years. That in those days, was a huge amount because the next biggest contract in those days was only $150,000. He also has stock options in Nike and $7 million over 5 years. If he can only accomplish at least one of the 3 things that Nike demands of him during that season. The first, he must be Rookie of the Year. Second, he will average at least 20 points per game. And third, let him at least be an all-star that season. Even if it's just one of them, he can accomplish those three. What Jordan did, because he liked Adidas, he went to the Adidas office and showed him the Nike contract. He told the management of Adidas that if they can do the same or even close to the Nike contract they gave to him, he will sign a contract with them. Adidas refused, so Jordan had no choice but to sign a contract with Nike. After 1 year of that season, Jordan has surpassed all that Nike has demanded of him. He became an all-star. He also averaged 28.5 points per game and was still the Rookie of the Year that season. He exceeded the demands of Nike, and the order of Nike's Air Jordan design flooded in. In 1985, they earned a whopping $100,000 from Air Jordan, and this is where Nike's success began. And as they say, the rest is history. Have you ever worn any Air Jordan design? Just comment below. Thank you for watching.